Hello and welcome. Breaking news coming in. The Supreme Court has refused to stay the ED summons to Bharat Rashtra Samithi member K Kavitha, and she had given a plea for relief from the summons from ED, and now it looks like the court has not entertained it. So basically, she will go through the under the ED lens. Remember, K Kavitha is the daughter of Chief Minister of Telangana K Chandrasekhar Rao, and she also is an MLC with the party. She had sought protection from arrest and had challenged the summons by the Enforcement Directorate in connection with the alleged Delhi excise policy scam. The court has also said, as per norms, a woman can't be summoned for questioning before the ED in its office, and her questioning should take place at her residence. Joining me on the broadcast is my colleague Ashok Bagria. Ashok, how do you see this verdict, especially not a win-win situation, obviously, but she could not get what she was desiring, a relief from the court as far as the case is concerned?
Well, Pankaj, immediately if we were to look at this case, there are two aspects to it. Basically, Kavitha had approached the Supreme Court saying that she should not be called to the Delhi office of the Enforcement Directorate for questioning with respect to the Delhi excise policy offence which have been committed and investigations for which are going on. She said that she's a woman. So far, she's not been called as an accused, and she should not be called for investigation to Delhi, and the place where if she is to be questioned by the Enforcement Directorate should be done at her residence. Today the Supreme Court said that they're not inclined to go into this question because there are larger questions which are involved with this case, which also have a bearing on the Abhishek Banerjee case, the Nalini Chidambaram case, where a similar question has been raised. And what they have done is that they have tagged Kavitha's petition along with those cases and said that this matter should come up for hearing within 3 weeks' time. However, when the hearing was going on in the Supreme Court, the center was led by the Enforcement Directorate was led by the Solicitor General and the Additional Solicitor General, who strongly put up an argument saying that this kind of a relief should not be given to Kavitha because there already exists a judgment by a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court in Vijay Madan Lal Chaudhary's case, where the Supreme Court has held that as far as processes of CRPC, of the Criminal Procedure Code is concerned, they will not apply to PMLA proceedings or PMLA inquiry as long as there is a complaint which is not filed against the accused. So on these technical grounds, there was opposition by the Enforcement Directorate. However, at the end of the day, there's no relief for K Kavitha, who has been summoned by the Enforcement Directorate to come to Delhi and appear for questioning.
Right, Ashok, also this whole episode of the questioning and whether K Kavitha wanted to appear or not, she was camping in Delhi, but the politics of it is also gaining momentum side by side. We have seen how Manish Sisodia, after initial rounds of questioning, both by the CBI and the ED, now lands behind bars. Do you believe that there is more to it in this case as far as the Delhi excise policy is concerned and the legal aspects of it also, because these are the primary questioning that these individuals are going through. K Kavitha also has been interviewed thrice before the ED, but this time around she was summoned to Delhi. Do you believe that such steps, smaller steps by ED again are indicative towards a bigger picture that both the ED and the CBI are trying to arrive at in this particular case?
See, you're right. There are actually two aspects to this Delhi excise policy case. One is the political aspect of it, and there's the legal aspect of it. The legal aspect is being battled in the Supreme Court of India, where various technical questions are being raised pertaining to the Enforcement Directorate's right to question a person with respect to that corruption case, and whether it should be carried out at the headquarters in Delhi or whether it should be carried out at the residence of allegedly the accused. Now, politically, this thing has been playing out for a long time now. In fact, there are voices which are being raised by political opposition leaders, and in fact, there is even a petition in the Supreme Court where 14 political parties cutting across political spectrum have come to the Supreme Court and have said that what is being seen of late is that the number of cases which are being launched by the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate against political leaders just before the elections is a matter of scrutiny, and the Supreme Court should intervene in such cases and lay down some pre-arrest or post-arrest guidelines for granting of bails for such political leaders. Besides that, the politicians have been saying, or rather have been criticizing the BJP government, saying that the Enforcement Directorate, first it was the CBI, which was the caged parrot of the government. Now the Enforcement Directorate has become a parrot which is doing what the government wants it to do, and that is basically to target the political opponents. Now the Telangana Chief Minister, Mr. K Chandrasekhar Rao, has been a strong opponent of the BJP, and possibly it looks like there have been, in fact, his daughter herself, K Kavitha, has said that she was being targeted because of her father, and the ED was trying to settle political score at the behest of the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Well, indeed, Ashok, obviously the pinch of politics that is, it's peppered all across in this particular case. So one final question, Ashok, before I let you go. 3 weeks' time, the Supreme Court has given, in a way, that to hear K Kavitha's plea once again to get reprieve from ED's questioning. Do you believe that this is also, in a way, 3 weeks deadline to the ED also to, expedite and, put plans in process as far as K Kavitha's questioning is concerned?
Well, this particular adjudication which will happen by the Supreme Court within 3 weeks, or in fact, there is a case which is coming up for hearing in the Supreme Court tomorrow itself, where the previous judgment of the Supreme Court in Vijay Madan Lal Chaudhary is being under review. So now if the Supreme Court decides to review that judgment and sends it for consideration before a higher bench of 5 judges, then all proceedings will come to a halt. Now that will be a huge setback for the Enforcement Directorate, because every time that matter gets raked up, K Kavitha will always tell that, this matter is pending adjudication in the Supreme Court, and in the meantime she will be willing to cooperate with the Enforcement Directorate. If they want to question her, they can come to her residence and question her. So at the moment the scales are evenly placed for Kavitha as well as for the Enforcement Directorate. It will all depend on what happens tomorrow or in the next 3 weeks as to whether Kavitha will actually come to Delhi for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate, or the Enforcement Directorate's hands will be tied by the Supreme Court pending the final adjudication in the matter.
Right, Ashok, and just for the benefit of our viewers, one quick update, one quick overview of this whole now scrapped Delhi excise policy case. I remember we saw Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia going behind the bars after a series of rounds of questioning. Ashok, one quick overview how this case is panning out till now, and what is the government actually trying to find out here as far as the money laundering aspect is concerned?
Well, there are 2 investigating agencies which are actually probing the Delhi excise case. One is the corruption case, which is being probed by the Central Bureau of Investigation, and the other is a fallout of that corruption case, which is money laundering, and that is being probed by the Enforcement Directorate. Now, there are 2 aspects. One is money laundering and one is the actual crime. As far as the Enforcement Directorate is concerned, the case is simple, that certain kickbacks were paid to people associated with the Aam Aadmi Party government, as well as people who benefited out of the Delhi excise policy, and there were money which were transferred to them, and they were parked in some shell companies abroad and within India. So Enforcement Directorate is basically trying to figure out the money trail which was a consequence of the bribes or the kickbacks paid in the Delhi excise policy case. Whereas the CBI, the Central Bureau of Investigation, is clearly just looking at the criminal aspect of the case, where they are trying to figure out who are the people who were involved in this case and whether they can be penalized or prosecuted under the Prevention of Corruption Act.
Well, Ashok Bagaria, they are explaining how deep this rabbit hole goes as far as the now scrapped Delhi liquor excise policy case is concerned. We'll keep a close eye on the matter. Keep watching News 9 Plus.